Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant.com, bringing you part 2 of our installation of the Kicker Soundgate Powerstage factory stereo upgrade for 2009 and newer Ford F-150 Super Cruise. So one other important note here is this panel, they ask you to loosen it, but I found it was actually easier just to take the whole darn thing off because this is where your hood latch is, and as a result it makes this panel a little tough to get out. So first, if you work on this, it literally just sits on this seam, so you can just pull that out, and as you do, you realize that this lives under the panel that typically is here, so that just pops out. These are just pop clips that if you put some pressure on, or if you have a handy dandy panel tool, they pop right out, and as a result it makes it so that this panel pops out significantly with ease. Alright, so we're through routing our power cables, and now you've got to get the interior truck speaker amplifier mounted. And so the way that works is there's basically an intercept that goes behind the factory radio, which you'll see is reinstalled. It basically just plugs into the back of the radio, and then what used to plug into the back of the radio plugs into the harness. That runs back behind and up and under, so eventually it'll live sort of on top of the brake cable. But the other thing that we've been doing is you'll notice that bolt, which is for the steering column mount, the top left one is removed, as well as the bolt that holds in the emergency brake release handle. So now we've got our amp installed, and if, in case you're wondering, the part that's at an angle is the part that goes up under the brake piece, and this big angular piece is the one that goes and installs up underneath and on that column. So we're going to do that now, and we'll be back after this. Hopefully it's hanging up here and sort of cleanly mounted away. Alright, so you see we got our screws mounted back in. That steering column nut is enormously long and takes about a minute and a half to ratchet back on there. The next thing we're doing is dealing with the wiring harness, and so you'll see I've removed the 3 screws for the knee panel on the truck, and we're gonna finish this up, and then we're gonna wire the power together on this stuff, and we should be on to the subwoofer install. Alright, so we got our knee panel out of the way here. It just pulls back and pops off 2 more snap pops. You're going to remove the left side screw for the ground wire for the amp that's going to be on this side, so I just removed that, and we'll get that back in there and move on to the next step. Alright, so once you have all your power routed over to the speaker side set of amplifiers over there, you've got to get your subwoofer wiring kit and run the sub wire back through the back of the stereo and over the other side to plug into that harness. The other thing you need to do is get to that screw that's back there to ground the subwoofer to. Well, it's a real pain in the ass. To make my life significantly easier, you'll notice that there's a bunch of these pop-in connectors all over here, and I've actually taken those out so they can get a real length socket in there to take it out and hold on to it to be able to put this back on there and sew it all back up. So we'll be back in a second once that's done. Alright, so I got that connected, power cord to the sub connected, so I figured I'd run the power cable to the sub where it's actually going to live, connected it up, and then threw together most of the center console again, which is pretty easy. Right now I'm actually still missing the 2 screws that mount in here, so I got to pull the console back. But before I went any farther, I wanted to see if the whole thing works. You can actually see I've got my phone plugged in to the USB port, and
Yo, chick, she's so thirsty. I'm in that 2C Lambo with your bitch, she tryna jerk me.
And let me tell you, initial impressions are, I mean, nothing short of amazing. The fact that that little sub can put that kind of power out, and somehow the EQ work that Kicker's done with that additional amplifier is really incredible. I mean, for a truck that has no tweeters in the doors, nothing but, you know, indoor sort of crummy factory Ford speakers, it sounds pretty amazing in all honesty. So I'm going to work on finishing buttoning this up. If anything else major comes up from an install perspective, so I still have to rat all this in here, of course, pick up that panel to get it under here. Then you actually are supposed to cut a slit in the factory carpeting to be able to have this wire pop out of. But all in all, seems about good. So right now it's just about noon, so we've been at it for about 3 hours, and I imagine there's probably really about an hour's worth of buttoning things up, putting things back together, and we should be good. But very happy to report that first try, no problems, fired right up, and sounds pretty damn good.